when cars are getting more and more expensive, the question is, are you willing to go with that development, or will you be searching for alternatives like the Leapmotor C10? For full spec, 45,000 euros, you get a car that accelerates in 4 seconds, 0 to 1 kilometers an hour. And this is a mid-size SUV that is even suitable for the family, space-wise. But what do you get for that price, even below 40,000 euros in the entry level? We'll find out here in exterior, interior quality, and especially in the driving, because some of the new manufacturers, they maybe can build good cars stationary, but does it also drive well? And what's the real world range? We're going to do a test, and we'll also have a concise fast charging test for you. Everything of that now with Thomas Nautical in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go with the Leapmotor C10. And Leapmotor, very interesting story here. There is the logo, it's a Chinese company, and Stellantis, the European large corporation, which owns Opel, Peugeot, Citroën, and so on. They have actually bought into Leapmotor, into the main company, and they formed together a joint venture. And from that one, Stellantis even has 51%. But it also means they put Leapmotor intentionally in their own dealerships next to an Opel, Peugeot, Citroën, and so on. Let's see how that one turns out. In design, you can see it looks like more or less any other modern EV SUV out there, but that's also intentionally that it doesn't want to stand out too much. Let's take a look at the Frunk, if there is one. Interestingly, there are two main powertrains. The first is hybrid, plug-in hybrid, range extender, however you want to call it. 28 kilowatt-hour LFP battery, already very large for a hybrid. There you see that the petrol engine rather serves as a range extender, indeed, a 1.5 one. Here, the fully electric one, that does house a Frunk, gas struts as well. Not too large, but it fits a charging cable, for example. And here we have basically two versions. 70 kilowatt-hour, the entry-level version with 400 volt charging, or even more interesting, the 82 kilowatt-hour battery with 800 volt charging. Both also LFP, and you can deduct some 2 kilowatt-hours for the net figure because they only publish the gross figures. And we are at the length of 4 meters 74 or 187 inches. 18 or 20 inch wheels. These ones are the larger wheels. And this is also the maxed out version, and they call it indeed Leapmotor C10 Pro Max. This is not a Pro Max, just the Pro. You know, Leah has the Pro Max because, you know, the girls always need the bigger smartphones for whatever reason. I don't know. Maybe the girls can explain that to me. And here we have either rear-wheel drive as an entry level or all-wheel drive as it stands here right now. And in that Pro Max all-wheel drive version, we have 4 seconds, 0 to 1 kilometers an hour. That's performance SUV figures indeed. Pretty cool, right? And then here we have the light strip going all the way through. Once again, the design really wants to draw back a little bit, not create too much attention. And then about charging. Well, the official charging figure is 30 to 80% in 22 minutes. But I can already tell you, we can score better. We do a charging test now very soon. And here, 11 kilowatt AC charging for this version and 180 kilowatt DC charging. But I can already tell you right now as well, we can even go higher than that. So they seem to be quite shy with these charging figures, so to speak. So it's better than they actually state it would be. And that's once again a very interesting thing, especially for that price here, 45,000 euros for the maxed out version with the all-wheel drive and so on. And yeah, it's not only a competitor to the Tesla Model Y, but also to many other, especially also the other Chinese companies, you know, who also are really flooding the European market now. And so the question is, especially for that size, hardly any other can compete in that case. And here, the door handle is always a little bit complicated. Good door closing sound. I mean, when you pull them out, then they are manual, but it's like this Tesla design. Not really so happy with that one. I like the classic door handles, but at least here, then they are manual. But it's always a question of how are you pulling these ones out. Door closing sound itself sounds very good though. Even a stronger question, of course, how good is the interior build quality? How does it drive? What's the real-world range? And then the concise charging test, everything to come right now. But it's really intriguing, you know, to find out what they can offer for that kind of price and how will it change actually also the customers that come into the dealership, also from Opel, Peugeot, Citroën and so on. Now about a concise charging test. We're at 18% state of charge now. We have driven on the Autobahn and we've also preconditioned a little bit. Let's see what we can score. And here we go, 18%, and oh, look at that. Directly starts with 150 kilowatt. So that's pretty cool. And the cool thing here, 187 kilowatt. So this is more than the officially claimed peak of 180, goes even above that. So that's really decent. I mean, preconditioning obviously worked very well. We have 6 minutes now and recharged 18 kilowatt hours so far. And I really gotta say, I'm impressed for a 40,000 euro car here. It still charges with 160 kilowatt and we're almost at 80%. So far, 15 minutes. It's really decent. Let's see what the final minute status is. And here we can see the interesting charging curve. So here, this plateau of 187 kilowatt was kept quite long. And then just over 70%, it dropped to over 100 kilowatt and we're still at 119. So yeah, this is a very nice charging curve indeed. And next to us was a Skoda Enyaq and that was way worse in the charging curve. I took a look at that. So in here now, from 18 to 80%, almost done here. We took about 19 minutes. Let's now check out the interior. So when you use the key card, you have to open and close the car right here at the side mirror. However, you will connect it then when you own the car with your own smartphone, and then this one serves as the key. Then inside of the doors, this has a interesting, let's say, half rough surface, so to speak. Looks interesting. It's also soft. Then here, yeah, could be a little bit softer for your elbow. Nice quality also for the window levers already and for the door here. Just here, then is everything hard pack. Then a steering wheel is also an animal-free material and it's really extremely soft and very pleasant to the skin, how you feel it and so on. Then you have these Tesla-alike buttons on the steering wheel, right side as well, but you can also easily control the volume with that. And here, when you press this one here, actually twice, you can have this hotkey for that one that deactivates all of the annoying beeping sounds and so on when you have the D key in. Yeah, these instruments here, separate, large enough. Soon more to the infotainment. Then these seats here, in this case in black, perforation, also with a very strong seat cooling, and the softness is extraordinary. It's really nice and soft here. The seating depth is nice, and also the surface material, once again, it's an animal-free material and even has this Ecotex seal, and that means that it's like proof against any toxins and so on, even toddler proof. That's how the seal actually says, so that you don't have any, like, you know, residual chemicals or whatever. So good move by them, definitely. And indeed, good comfort. Can't complain about that at all. And here, steering wheel, bless you, here. Yes, must be like the pollen here in summertime. And then here, yeah, manual up and down, in and out with the steering wheel. And yeah, 6'2" or 1.89 m, enough headroom left. Yeah, and once again, very good comfort. And you really wonder, this is a car then around the 40,000 euro area. That's really astonishing. And we can show you more about the panoramic roof now from the other side. Now the cockpit overview here. We can see large infotainment screen, as with a lot of new brands that is similar design, very clean design, also Tesla alike. And here is also a soft leatherette dashboard, good quality. Air vents come in the middle part right there. Classic glove box right there, very small though. Underneath we have more space here, and then we have USB-C charging and connecting. 60 watts, that's actually sufficient. And then also the USB-A charger on the right side. On the top part here, adaptive cup holders, 3-dot design. This is an inductive charging pad that is not ventilated though. You would put the key card to drive the car or the smartphone then, and then car knows, you're there. Here, this one could be a little bit softer for your elbow. There's a lot of space underneath though, so you can store all the clutter there. And you have even more cup holders that can be used both somewhat additionally for the front, but then also for the rear passenger. And once again, the 3-dot design. And steering wheel itself, as shown, up and down, in and out. And here behind that is then this, old Tesla, Mercedes alike gear lever, drive, reverse and P. And you also have a good camera system. They can also trigger right there with a 360-degree view on the left side, not to damage the wheels and so on. And then here, you can also have this special wheel view, which now looks weird because the right door is opened. But yeah, flexible with that definitely. Soon more to the infotainment system and so on. But you see that the specialty of this car is really that it has a good build quality on the interior for that kind of price. I do miss more physical dials here in that area. At least you have some on the steering wheel, and here also the classic columns and so on. Some more dials here would be nice, especially for the climate. That is, as with most new cars, in the screen. At least it's here central, and you can also put some of the hotkeys here down there yourself. For example, you can say, hey, I want this one, the access to the seat heating and seat ventilation menu. And here, for example, you can put the seat ventilation, and on level 3, it's really very powerful. So especially good for very, very hot days indeed. Then we shall check out the panoramic roof, because this is still with some hotkey. That's good. There we go. You cannot open it as for fresh air, but at least it is a physical dial up there, and it goes really all the way through. And you do have this physical shade, which some cars actually don't have that anymore. The roof does get hot though. We have tested that in the sun, so it's good also to be in the shade. And then you have a second hotkey next to it. For example, at the moment I've bound it to that the mirrors fold in, because that's not the control you have here on the inside. Oh, by the way, I accidentally put down the window on Leah's side now. It's not dual glazing, right? But it is actually quite thick, so it's not too small, so, or not too thin. Let's see how that one scores on the Autobahn very soon. Driver POV, here, digital instruments. They show some figures here on the right side, consumption data and so on. Left side, and Euro speed. Here, when you put in the gear, looks like this. And then the main infotainment unit. So the climate unit is down there. You click it, you go to this larger climate unit right there. Yeah, and then the hotkey for the seat ventilation and heating would be here, or you can also individualize the lower part. This, for example, for the 360-degree camera. And then here are all the settings and so on. You can also deactivate further ADAS systems and so on, but you can also swipe down from top, and then you have also some hotkeys there that you can deactivate stuff. But yeah, as I told you earlier, you can also then set everything here that you press this one twice to quickly deactivate some stuff. Also as a camping mode, for example, also nice. So a lot of functionality here. What I was missing when charging, I did not see the charging speed here in this screen. That was what I'm missing. And what I'm also missing is there is no Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. And for this platform, it's also not planned to introduce that. And I think you can hardly sell a car without Apple CarPlay nowadays. This is, by the way, a nice feature. You can easily activate or deactivate the inductive charging pad.
Small detail here, driver's seat or also on the passenger seat here. I appreciate they have some felt at the seatbelt holder from the outside, so it doesn't scratch here. The inside part is really soft. So that's nice detailed thinking. However, here, when the lower part of the seatbelt holder touch, you maybe hear that. It's a little bit when it touches that, so they should have applied some felt here at the other side so that it doesn't do the squeaking sounds while driving.
Yeah, so probably I would, you can buy some like Alcantara with glue on the other side, and then you can just like put it there yourself, or some felt or something with glue on the other side, that you have this area covered. Now to the rear seats. Let's first check out here the inside of the doors, which have the same material, also soft, looks nice. Here also even softer with the leatherette, so it looks really premium. Gotta say that, also nicely with the window levers again. This is also soft, only hard packed and in the lower part, and we have the same Ecotex seal proofed material here. Really soft, nice comfort, Isofix outside, pulling down these. No cup holders, but very soft for your elbows. So that's good rear comfort indeed. But it's no problem, because you have here these cup holders you can reach from here. And you can either sit more upright or with this cargo position, or sit more relaxed like this. And it's really very comfortable. And headroom here, a little bit closer, but still works with 189, 6x2, and also enough legroom. So this has really good space. USB-C charging, USB-A charging. even floor using that electric platform. Yes, your feet, due to the electric platform, sit a little bit higher than, but still, let's say, okay. And you have just a lot of room to move around. And once again, taking the price into account with the space offer you already get for that. We know there are some other Chinese competitors who are also in that price region, but then these cars are usually way smaller. Now let's check out the trunk or the boot, 435 liters. And yeah, you might expect that the opening is here, but it's not. It's actually, once again, like with their compact hatch here, this small button, not the best solution, honestly. And then let's see. Normal cover, this fits underneath, also vertically. Then we have about a meter here in width, a little bit more than a meter or 40 inches. The normal length is here about 36 inches or 90 centimeters. And then we have some space underneath right there, not too much. Then the total length, I already folded down the seats. This one is here at 1.83 meters or 72 inches. And last but not least, the height, we are at 28 inches or 73 centimeters. Interesting is here, from folding the seats, I can show it to you. When I fold the seats up, there are two positions. Here, this is like the cargo position, and you have more space here, or then more land back. You can also see the difference. So this one is in cargo position now, this one is in the back position. Sport mode. Ay. That was 40 to 120, and here still goes 100 to 150. Wow. It's a 45,000 euro vehicle with 4 seconds in the acceleration figure, and it even triggers the Lear meter. Can't believe that. And here 130 kilometers an hour on the motorway. It's not too loud actually. So the noise insulation, and then we even have like the cover on the roof not closed. So I think it's actually fine. So 130 kilometers an hour is a good traveling speed. Suspension wise, I mean, soon talk about city driving. Some potholes are not ideal, let's take it that way, suspension wise. At the same time, the faster you go, it's also, let's say, not that confident. So I think this is maybe something where the suspension is lacking, like this span between comfort and sportiness. It's, let's say, fine in an average sense, but it's not that confident on high speeds as for sportiness, but also not that comfortable in potholes. So if they could optimize something, probably it would be suspension-wise. But noise insulation-wise, I think it's actually fine that you have a good traveling feeling and so on. And I mean, here, I can't believe that. Look at that. And it's almost top speed for this vehicle. Wow, that's really crazy.
Silent. Yeah.
Very silent. Here, even at 160 kilometers an hour, it's super silent. I mean, is it even more silent than an iX3? Maybe so. Maybe so. Wow. Yeah, I'm very impressed by that. One thing I'm not impressed with is here, the steering setup. It's not straight. This would be straight, and then I'm steering to the right. We've just been on a Denza event. That's like the premium brand of BYD, and had the Denza Z9 GT again, and it was the same, just in the other direction. Honestly, gotta say that we had a similar problem with our Audi S5, the private vehicle, where I had a lot of hassle that they get the steering recalibrate again, because me, also maybe with a little bit OCD, it completely drives me crazy when the steering wheel is not straight. It's really something very annoying. And most of the time you can fix it with a simple software calibration. Go to your dealer and say like, put it straight, set the reset button, and that's it. Hopefully that can also be done here. The same, we're also waiting then that Apple CarPlay is working for that car at some point, hopefully. What I see is that the lane keeping assist has a good reason that here I've set it on the hotkey, that I can easily deactivate lane keeping assist, and also the here like EU speed time law, because the lane keeping assist is very annoying, honestly. So I'd rather have that one deactivated. And another thing I can also show to you is when we are, let's see here, ACC, and then another. There we go. So this is now the active holding mechanism, and for that one the touch realization is not there. You always have to give the steering a little push that it still actually knows you're there. So yeah, that's something. So assistance system wise, it's also okay, but not above average. We also have a blind spot monitor. It appears kind of late. It's more like this Stellantis philosophy. We also know from Peugeot, Citroën, Opel and so on, Vauxhall, that the blind spot thing appears in the moment they are in the blind spot, but not in advance for a warning. So honestly, assistance systems wise, cruise control wise, yeah, I would probably deactivate everything and just drive for yourself, because that's not on a super high level. But considering again that driving yourself is actually fine, it's silent here in the vehicle, it has great performance. Steering feels, because I've set it here in the user-defined mode to sport, or in the sport mode, it's also in the sport, a little bit more feedback. That's also good then actually. So in the comfort mode it would just be like too loose, you don't have a real feedback. Yeah, so then big question in here of course was, do the established manufacturers have to be afraid? Motorway driving wise, I think the coolest thing about this vehicle is that it doesn't cost much money in comparison to the competitors, but you have a nice comfortable ride with the seats. I have seat cooling activated for example as well, that we stay cool here during a hot summer day. You have it silent, you have great acceleration. Yeah, the only thing you maybe don't have is like the most sophisticated suspension, and you do not have sophisticated assistance systems. That's probably something then you'll have to live with that. But honestly, if I pay maybe half or 1/3 for that vehicle in comparison to the competition, I can easily live with that. And now some city driving here, and there's a lot of traffic here around now, and I still can't believe we're driving a vehicle that is full spec 45,000 euros. It's incredible. So it's also very silent here in the city. So the windows seem to be thick enough, so you stay really, really calm. You don't really feel like the noise and all the traffic going on around you. What's decision is how you actually want to drive slowly. So in the settings, you can go to the one pedal driving mode. You can switch it when you're in P, and then I'm. Okay, the cyclists go first. Okay, now we can go, and then the car, of course, then stops by itself at some point and just stands still. And if you have deactivated the one pedal driving, then you use the brake pedal until you come to a stop. And with the brake pedal, it's very, very sensitive. So especially when you have very dear passengers next to you and want them also, you want to take care of them and don't want to throw them around here back and forth and so on, when you're just like slowly also parking in and out and something. Since the brake is so sensitive, maybe the one pedal driving is better. So yeah, you can try around with that, but in any case, the brake pedal is a little bit too sensitive, I feel. I think usually using the brake pedal is better for the passenger. But here I think with the one pedal driving, I think I can be more gentle with lifting my foot off the pedal than I would use the brake pedal. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's better? It's better? Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay, got the Leah stamp. So in this case, probably one pedal driving is recommended. And there are also more settings for the driving mode, for example. That's interesting. So when you are in the one pedal driving, you cannot change the driving mode? No, that's interesting. Now, why would that be? Yeah, that is something. Yeah, for that then we come to a stop with the one pedal driving mode, and that's next to red traffic light. Then I can go to P, deactivate the one pedal driving mode, and then the driving modes become visible again. And you can go to a user-defined driving mode, I like that, and soft acceleration, low regenerative braking, but steering on sport, that you have a little bit more feedback because the steering is kind of light, and then the sport feedback is actually a little bit better. Yeah, but maybe then we go without the one pedal driving mode, because then we can use the different driving modes in the custom mode. Here the camera, by the way, is also very helpful, really large and so on, resolution. it's large, so
And
it's
that's the best feature here.
yeah, here for the it's a good point by Leah here for the wheels that you don't damage the alloys. Just here on the drone view from above, it's like the vehicle silhouette is not properly cut out. That's something they could fix with over the air. But yeah, this really so helpful here to have the wheel view, and you can always trigger it here in the lower part also. You don't have to put in the reverse gear for that you reach that. So that's cool. So it's a very calm driving experience here. You just have to get used to like coming to a very gentle and slow stop. That's maybe the only thing. Suspension, as I mentioned earlier, we have the 20-inch wheels on here. Smaller wheels would of course be better. Then again, it makes sense to go max out on the trim, that you have all the features this car has to offer. And then usually you cannot go back to the 18-inch wheels, so that's maybe something. But I think suspension is still okay. Sometimes in the potholes it's a little bit rough. Yeah, thank you. I need to go left. Here, for example, you see maybe now, right? You know, like they don't have any special suspension technology here, which would be super sophisticated. And we have to say, for example, a BMW iX3 or the Volkswagen AG EV SUVs like the ID.4, the Skoda Enyaq, and so on, they are also pretty stiff in the suspension setup. So that's not stiffer than some of the competitors, let's take it that way. But you do feel a difference to a car with a more sophisticated suspension technology. So that's maybe one thing that you don't get for 45,000 euros. But it's still totally fine, you know, and you have then the super soft silicone seats here, and they also give you the good support here. Recently in the B05, the small compact hatch brother, that one, because you sit lower, the seats seem super comfortable, but when you drove them a little bit longer, then you say, maybe they're not that comfortable as they look like. But here, since you have the upright seating position, they also stay comfortable, and that's really good, you know. And also with the choice of materials and everything, also the steering wheel material, it's so super soft and pleasant, but it's high quality soft, you know what I mean? And also when you're just steering, for example, and here left, and let the steering wheel just like by torque steer go back here in your hands, and it slides over the skin, it just gives you a pleasant feeling. And once again, cars in that price region, meanwhile, I mean, since car prices have gone up way much more, they cannot hold up the quality that we find here. So that is really astonishing. Yeah, so city driving is indeed, with the one exception of the very like sensitive brake, it's just a pleasure to be here also in the city. Super calm, and Leah also seems to be very relaxed. If the sun is getting too hot, I can also just, you know, apply the additional shade there. Yes, we cannot open the roof, but since we can apply the shade, at least we can also keep it somewhat soft here. So also this discipline here is very well mastered. And I mean, there's always the thing, you know, when you see this price performance ratio and one of the new competitors, you're always like trying to find, okay, like, is there something they're still missing, and do the established manufacturers really have to worry? Efficiency, rear-wheel range, and what's my personal conclusion? So we did some tests here in mild, nice temperatures, and then here at 1 kilometers an hour, 60 miles an hour with these 20-inch wheels. 18 kilowatt hours on 1 kilometers consumption and 3.45 miles per kilowatt hour. That would mean a rear range at that speed, 450 kilometers or 280 miles. That's okay. Then at 130 kilometers an hour or 80 miles an hour, 22 kilowatt hours on 1 kilometers. That's 2.8 miles per kilowatt hour. Rear range at that speed, 370 kilometers or 230 miles. And that is really decent. So we cannot complain that it wouldn't be efficient enough. Heat pump is, by the way, standard, so we have to also see how it is in the winter. But at least at good temperatures and decent speeds, it does score a good range and already has a reasonable kilowatt hour size, and especially at that price. And you have seen that the recharging is actually better than they officially state. So it also recharges quickly enough. Important, of course, to get this 800 volt version here. So at this price, it probably always makes sense to go for the maxed out version. Yeah, that's how it is. And I mean, excellent interior. Can't really complain. The interior also is a very nice, good build quality. The seats are very comfortable, also very nice, soft material. And then it comes to driving. And there we do find some things that can be improved, especially the sensitivity of the brake. Yes, you could go with the one pedal driving, but as we've shown to you, when you have one pedal driving, then you are not able to set other things. So I think they should definitely fine tune that. But that's also software calibration, so that can actually be done. But at this moment, I want to drive in the custom mode, but then again, I really have to be super, super careful with the brake. Yeah, then the steering wheel alignment should be fixed in the workshop, definitely. I think that should also be possible. Steering feel is not the best overall, and also how the body rolls. There you do feel a difference that, you know, for example, a German premium manufacturer does feel better in the corners. That's something where they don't have like the special unique features and so on, you know. Then again, you might say, I don't drive that agile, but I rather want to save the money and spend it otherwise with my family. And that's why I'm happy that the car is half the price in the German premium competition, for example, but I already get a premium interior, you know, and then it kind of makes sense. So yes, especially in driving, also the assistance systems are not really that good yet. They can maybe fine tune it later. Question if that comes. If you drive with sunglasses, like these beeping warnings come, the warming probably as well, but the warnings come earlier. But these can be easily deactivated as well. So you have to bear that in mind. Always deactivate these warnings, but we've shown to you that it can easily done directly at the steering wheel. So yes, there are things that you say this car is not perfect, but still we can definitely say that at this price point, this is a huge problem. Not necessarily for the German premium manufacturers, but for those who are also among in this price segment, who are more selling like the people's car, like Volkswagen at least used to do. You know, so the big European corporations which sell in the non-premium segment, they will have a large problem with that. And especially also, it was for me kind of obvious when I was at Brussels Motor Show and they had the Stellantis booth, there was an Opel Astra, and then the Leapmotor C10 next to it. And I was like, wait a minute, there's not even a huge price gap between these two. And then who would seriously buy an Opel Astra when you here get like a mid-size SUV with a better interior and fast charging and an 82 kilowatt hour battery, you know? That is something indeed. So on the one hand, they created their own problem with Stellantis. On the other hand, they are also then part of the solution, you know? So you can argue that pro and con, definitely. Very interesting vehicle. And also if you compare it to other Chinese new manufacturers, they, I think, have a very, very crisp price point for what you get, the size of the vehicle and the quality of the vehicle for that price point. So all that is in driving, that still needs some further development, definitely. But yeah, you see, it's getting even more critical for the existing manufacturers. Tell me what you think, and now join in for more interesting reviews.